Welcome to Advocate Today. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. The honorees for the 2023 GLAAD Awards are out today. The recipients are being recognized for their commitment to the LGBTQ plus community. The organization will honor Christina Aguilera, Bad Bunny, and Jeremy Pope. Aguilera will receive the Advocate for Change Award. Bad Bunny will be honored with GLAAD's Vanguard Award, and the Stephen F. Kolzak Award will go to Jeremy Pope. The 34th Annual GLAAD Media Awards take place March 30th in Los Angeles and May 13th in New York. Michael Urie is joining forces with Harrison Ford and Jason Segal in the Apple TV Plus series Shrinking. He's known for iconic roles. He played Mark St. James on Ugly Betty. He also portrayed Peter in the gay rom-com Single All the Way. Urie's new series follows a grieving therapist who begins to tell his clients exactly what he thinks. I went one-on-one with Michael to break down his role on how the show normalizes queer relationships on TV and how it tackles mental health. Hi, welcome, Michael Urie, who is now starring in Shrinking as Brian. Thank you for talking with me today.
Thank you. My pleasure. I love talking to you.
Of course. It's my pleasure as well. Well, I just want to begin kind of broadly and ask you your first reactions to when you were either offered the part or saw the script for Shrinking.
Well, I first heard wind of it. My reps were like, hey, there's this part on this show. It's from the Ted Lasso guys and Jason Segal starring. And I was like, great, let's, keep an eye on that. But I didn't know what the show was and I didn't know what the role was. And then an audition came through and they gave me the script to the first episode and then materials for Brian. Now, Brian, my character, doesn't actually really appear in the first episode. You see a glimpse of I'm sort of like a featured background actor in the first episode. You just sort of see me from afar. And so I read it and I was like, well, there's nothing really to this guy, but there was all this great material in the audition sides. And those all ended up being, I found out later, in episode 2. And so I read the first episode, even though I wasn't in it, and it was so well written, so very moving, very funny. And I thought, well, if this is the show and there's all this material for this guy later on, then this is really exciting. I thought it was a really exciting, very adult, very funny, but very moving study on grief.
Yeah.
And so I got very, very excited at the possibilities for what might happen with Brian, given what I'm seeing in the first episode and what happens to all these other characters in the first episode.
You mentioned the grief aspect of this show, which I think the show is really incredible because Jason Segal's character is a therapist, and as is Harrison Ford's and Jessica Williams, and so they're kind of this central work center of the show, and it revolves around mental health and grief. And we're coming out of this pandemic. Things have been tough politically for so many different people. And I wonder if you would talk a little bit about being a part of a show that touches on mental health that's affecting everybody, right? I mean, I would say just about everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think almost everybody has some level of grief in their lives, whether it's the actual loss of someone because of natural reasons, or because of the pandemic, or because of the gun epidemic in our country, or the loss of rights because of politics. Everyone's grieving something, and we're talking about it more than I can ever remember in my life. These last few years, we're really talking about grief and mental health in society and amongst each other, and it's become not only a topic that's okay to discuss. The taboo has sort of been lifted, but it's become a vital part of all of our work and personal lives, our professional and personal lives. I mean, you hear mental health days. You hear about people taking off for mental health days in the workplace now, which I'd never heard of before. So it's coming. I think the show's coming on the heels of that, in many ways inspired by that. And I think that's what Brett and Bill and Jason really wanted to tackle when they started this project. They were all funny people. They're all very, very funny people, and their take on grief is unique. And they wanted to make a show about what happens when funny people are grieving. And so there's this incredible cast, these three
Mhm.
therapists. We have Harrison Ford and Jessica Williams, who are so brilliant in their different
Yeah.
ways, and Jason leading the pack. And the show, every episode tackles grief and other mental health issues in unique, funny, and I think very touching ways.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it's interesting, we did a retrospective at Frameline about your career, and then I was really thinking about your career, and I think this is a very different character for you. He's an estate lawyer,
Yeah.
and at first it seems as though he's in the most stable relationship of the show, um, but your character gets to give advice to Harrison Ford, which is kind of incredible, um, and Harrison Ford is like the kind of guru therapist of the show, but I think it's interesting that to me, I'm looking at Brian, your character, giving advice to Harrison Ford, and I'm thinking like that so many of us are in that role of taking care of others. And you don't think about an attorney doing that, but I wonder if you would touch on that aspect of Brian.
Yeah. So Brian's an estate attorney, and in the show, Harrison Ford's character Phil is battling Parkinson's,
Mhm.
and he is needing to deal with medical stuff, end of life stuff, various paperwork and policies and all these things that he has to deal with now that he has this debilitating illness. I mean, lively and still working, but he has a strained relationship with his daughter, and now is going to need her for medical purposes and estate purposes. And so my character is his lawyer, um, which was which I was very happy about when I found out that I was going to
I'm
use
sure.
it, because I was like, oh, I'm not really part of that world. I wonder if I'll
Mhm.
ever get to with Harrison and Jessica, and it turns out I did. But the
Yeah.
the really clever thing about this show, and we see it in all great TV shows, but it's so subtle in this one. It is part workplace, part home.
And I was thinking about marriage equality and thinking about how so many of us grew up thinking we could never marry the person we loved. And I just wonder if you think that's at all coming into Brian's psyche in terms of actually proposing.
That's a great question, and absolutely, I think that is what makes him um, so nervy about it. I think part of the reason why I think he's a nervy guy, and I think he already has his own anxieties about all of it, but especially about the things that are new to us. We didn't grow up. People of my generation didn't grow up with those kinds of dreams. We weren't faced with wedding proposals and wedding ideas and children and all those things. I mean, children more soon, more children. The idea that a gay person could be a parent came along sooner than
Yeah.
um, be a spouse, a legal spouse. But we just that wasn't part of our narrative. We were too busy dealing with coming out, and too busy dealing with where we fit in society to think about the things that straight people are faced with constantly. I mean, I'm starting to realize now that I've been with my partner for so long, and all anybody wants to talk about is, are you getting married, are you having kids? And it's annoying.
You're like, I'm
um,
happy.
Yeah, let me be me. But it's also like I get it. It's not now it's a luxury, and I'm happy that people are asking that, because that
Yeah.
means we've come a long way.
Thank you so much to Michael for stopping by. I always enjoy chatting with him. You can catch him in the Apple TV Plus series Shrinking. Episodes are streaming now. Disney isn't letting go of beloved franchises Frozen and Toy Story anytime soon. Disney CEO Bob Iger says there are plans to create sequels for both franchises. First Frozen film hit theaters in 2013. The sequel grossed more than $1.4 billion worldwide. The first installment of the Toy Story franchise premiered in 1995 and was an instant classic. Toy Story 4 continued the franchise's box office success by grossing more than $1 billion. Thank you for joining me on this Advocate today. Open the Advocate channel on YouTube for more full interviews with the biggest names in Hollywood. You can also visit us at advocatechannel.com for more content and coverage. I'm Tracy E. Gilchrist. I'll see you next time.